Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Media Row podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Miller. Happy to have you guys here on this Friday to finish up the week after a really fun and busy week and what will be a really fun and busy weekend as well. Today's show, our Fridays are always busy, but they're usually, preview and recap heavy. Today, we're going to start on the basketball side of things. We're going to recap the Iowa State and Drake women's game that we covered last night, and then go into the men's side of things as they take on Buena Vista tonight at 6:30 in the Knapp Center. We'll be there covering that one as well. And then we'll get into our college football segment of the show, the normal Friday kind of schedule, where we're going to preview what could be a historic weekend for the Drake football team. And then we'll dive into both Iowa State, and then our two top college football games in the nation. But here's where it changes up a little. Usually we finish off the show by having fun with our top 4 NFL games of the weekend. We're putting that aside for this week because Maury Hanks, who is one of the main guys who has helped bring the Iowa Bucknell game to the Casey Center and help set up the Emerald Coast Classic in Florida, the Thanksgiving week tournament that the Drake men will be playing in, where they take on LSU on Thursday night. He will be joining the show. Maury Hanks joining the show to finish up today. So before we get into anything else, you guys need to make sure to go check out all of our social media pages at Media Row Pod, where you can catch insights, live updates from games, as well as clips and interviews from coaches. And then, of course, follow us, like, subscribe, comment, rate all over wherever you're viewing or listening to this podcast right now. It means the world to us, and it takes about 2 seconds for you guys. So please help support the show by just doing those few quick things for us. And then, of course, these shows wouldn't be possible without having supporters and sponsors like Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Go check out Kelly's Little Nipper and use that keyword in Woodley, and your first drink is on the house. All right, let's dive in to the game that we covered last night in the Knapp Center as the Drake Bulldogs fell to the 12th ranked Iowa State Cyclones 87-60 in a game where it could have gone south real fast. Just first and foremost, Bill Fennelly, this is the most dynamic team, women's basketball team I've ever seen from Bill Fennelly. And I know what I'm saying there. I know the teams he's had in the past and what he's been able to do with his teams. I don't know how you guard this team. Cyclones were just way too dynamic. Drake tried to open up in a zone where they were fine with allowing Iowa State to shoot the three because they weren't going to let Audie Crooks beat them. They would double team her in the paint, and then that left open 4 great shooters. And Bill Fennelly talked about it after the game of how they couldn't have played a better first half. And they really couldn't. They came out on fire. They led at the end of the first quarter 25-5. Drake, on the other hand, despite getting a few good looks, could not get anything to fall. Started 0 of 10. And it was just, it really shined a light on how great Iowa State can truly be. If they can hit threes, they're virtually unstoppable. I'm really excited to see how teams are going to try to combat this Iowa State team, because just because Drake struggled to guard the three and to figure out how to slow down because you're not going to stop Audie, it's not just a Drake issue. This is a nationwide issue. It's a dilemma that every team that goes up against Iowa State and Bill Fennelly and Audie Crooks and all those players, they are going to have to face that dilemma too. So really impressed with Iowa State, with Bill Fennelly's group. We brought up how Jada Williams was the player to watch, and she really performed and shined offensively. Finley talked about how her style of play, the way she is the best off of the bounce, off of the dribble. He hasn't ever coached a point guard like her. Those are his words. So it's really exciting for Iowa State fans to have this team that is right now in top 12, and they're going to start being tested here in December, where you have Iowa coming up, who has the length and versatility, and you take on Marquette and you take on Florida here in the next few weeks as well. And now to shift gears to the Drake side of things, because this team, I said this on Wednesday's show, this is kind of how I expected the game to go. I didn't think Drake was going to beat Iowa State. They're just young. They're still figuring some things out. And Iowa State, again, just too many athletes, too many great players on that team. And so I didn't think Drake was going to win this game, but I still feel the same as I did on Wednesday, where despite the loss, I still have full faith in Pullman in this group. This team really showed some grit and the mental toughness that you want to see in these games. Going down 25-5, 52-18 at the half, but then opening up the third quarter on a 14-0 run, getting 8 consecutive stops, and getting the play that you got from Becker and Taylor that night was incredible. And before I dive too much more into Becker and Taylor, here is Coach Allison Pullman, just her opening thoughts following the loss to the Iowa State Cyclones.
Well, first of all, thank you everybody for being here. Really would like to tap into, the positives of today's, I would say, fight. I mean, we came out of halftime, I thought, really looking like the Drake women's basketball team that we want to be. I mean, we were gritty, we fought, we kind of punched back a little bit, but against really fantastic teams, you can't dig yourself that deep of a hole in the first quarter. And something that we definitely need to address as a program is a little bit of our slow starts, and that's on our coaching staff. And it's definitely top of mind, and it's something that we will be focused on before we head out for Thanksgiving.
So Anna Becker is a true freshman from Kansas that in the first half struggled. The whole team struggled. Couldn't find a rhythm, couldn't get into the paint. She comes out in the third quarter and just the second half as a whole and really takes charge. Her and Maggie Taylor combined for 21 points on 6 of 7 shooting in the third quarter and really changed the energy of the Knapp Center, of the bench, of the team as a whole, where Bill Finley was impressed, and he talked about how their game plan was to stop Knutson and to stop Alsma. They really did that effectively. They were not prepared for the play of Maggie Taylor and Anna Becker, and Anna Becker ties a career high with 22 points. Maggie Taylor, on the other hand, this was the biggest surprise, because I brought up on Wednesday's show, I'm a big Vice Quinn fan. I'm buying stock into Quinn early on, and talked about maybe even benching Maggie Taylor to start Vice Quinn. I didn't want to do that against Iowa State because that's a difficult ask for a freshman. Maggie Taylor, if she continues to play like this, I will gladly shut up, because Maggie Taylor had a career game. She puts up a career high 14 points, and to do it against Audie and against Addie Brown and just the players Iowa State has, especially in the post, was really impressive. Her best game I've ever seen from Maggie Taylor. So really impressed with her, really impressed with the grit and the mental toughness of this young team that is still figuring itself out, still getting used to each other. And yeah, they're sitting at a 1-3 record, but Creighton is a talented team. I'm going to put more blame on that loss at home to just chalking it up as the second game of the season. I think towards the end of the year, we're going to see a different style and a different looking Drake team than we did in week 2. At least we hope we do. And then these other 2 losses, it's tough going on the road to Iowa City and playing against Audi Crooks and Iowa State. Those are ranked teams for a reason. And I think fans should still have full confidence. I still have full confidence in Coach Pullman and this Drake Bulldogs squad. Doesn't get much easier, though. Thanksgiving week, they take on Arkansas, so another Power 4 conference opponent, and should be fun. We'll definitely be watching it on ESPN Plus and keeping you guys updated on social media. So let's stick with basketball real quick as we shift gears to the men's side of things as the Drake Bulldogs take on Buena Vista tonight at 6:30 at the Knapp Center. We'll be there, of course, so follow along at Media Row Pod on Twitter for our post-game interviews with Coach Henderson, as well as just updates throughout the game. Right now, ESPN giving the Beavers a 1% chance to win this one, but if they are able to pull off this victory, it doesn't matter because this is an exhibition game for Buena Vista. I'm going to get on a little soapbox here. I hate these. I don't really get it. So we saw this with Simpson. It was an exhibition game for Simpson, regular season game for Drake. I understand they're D3 and I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it. Like, just make this a regular season game or schedule someone else. Because I understand you're trying to stack up wins. You're trying to get wins. That's the whole point of this game. But as a mid-major, like, you already have so much against you where, so you win against Simpson and you win against, let's say, Buena Vista. And then what's going to be the conversation surrounding Drake? Yeah, they're 4-2. Two of those wins, though, I mean, the other team, it wouldn't have counted win or loss for them. Win or lose for them. Like, I don't fully understand the playing an opponent where it's an exhibition game for them. I don't fully grasp it because I think as a mid-major, you just have already too much going up against you where every little knock that someone could take on you, they're going to try to. Because you're already hearing it from teams that are undefeated. There's Hawkeye fans talking about, man, playing Chicago State, just tough to watch these games as they blow them out by 30. And I understand that, but at least it's a true matchup where it's exhibition. I don't fully get it. I want to talk to Brian Harden and ask him what is the benefits outside of just, man, you get a win. It feels like it's the closest thing to a sure win when ESPN gives your opponent a 1% chance. But now off of that little soapbox, let's talk about what Drake was able to do earlier this week. Coming off a big game on the road, their first true road test against Charleston, where they won 71-62. Felt like a must win, didn't it? You hate to say it this early on in the season, especially, on Wednesday's show, I was the person talking Drake fans off of the ledge, silencing those alarms, saying it's only 4 games into the season. Like, this team is going to be just fine. This did feel like a game just emotionally and for morale, for the players, coaching staff, and the fans, most of all, to just get that win. Get back into the win column, shake off the dust from those 2 really tough, heartbreaking home losses earlier this year, and just move on from it. And Drake, you could argue, had their most balanced game on the road against Charleston, where offensively, they hit a season-high 11 threes. They had 16 assists, which I loved seeing that number pop up on the box score. And then you had great bench play, where they had 23 points combined on the bench between Eli and Braden Applehans. So let's start, though, with that ball movement, the 16 assists. That was the thing I mentioned going up against Simpson, was get that ball moving. Move it around more. Have players moving with a purpose on this offense, because through 4 games, what we were seeing most of the time was one-on-one battles, ISO offense, and it just didn't seem like this team was gelling as a unit. Now, against Simpson, you saw 10 plus assists. And against now on the road, in a true road environment, against Charleston, 16 assists. If they can put up 10 plus assists again tonight against Buena Vista, which I have no doubt they should be able to, then I think that's showing growth in just the unity of this offense. And then last but definitely not least is that bench play. Do want to hit on that. Eli has been incredible for this offense. He definitely comes in not looking like a guy that hasn't had many opportunities, where he has no fear, very confident in his shot. He puts up 11 points, and then you had 12 points from Braden Applehans, who may be just the X factor for this Drake offense, because we've been talking about that throughout these first 5 games of, man, who is the X factor? Who is the guy that, Drake needs to step up day in and day out? And Jalen Quinn has his moments. Exact has been very consistent, but starting to lean more a little to Braden Applehans being that guy, because, man, when he gets going early, when he finds a rhythm early in the game, the offense just moves better. The team looks better. And I think a lot of people were calling for him to get more minutes after his performance in Charleston. So the transfer from New Mexico already making some great noise here in Des Moines. Really, the storyline I want to bring or shed light on as you guys get ready to watch this game tonight is the impact of Andrew Aaliyah can't be understated. Aaliyah is a redshirt junior that has seen 3 different coaching changes throughout his time at Drake, where he was a part of the Darren DeVries years, but redshirted with not seeing much playing time. Started to see the court more with Ben McCollum last year, but an injury sidelined him for the rest of the season. And then he continued to stay with this program, continued to be loyal, even though they were bringing in a brand new head coach with a brand new roster and staff. His loyalty is starting to pay off, because before this season, he only played in 23 career games with an average about 5 minutes of playing time. And now this season, he has started 4 of the 5 games, averaging 28.4 minutes, and has been on an amazing, incredible tear throughout the last 3 games, combining for 34 points. Career total before this season was 26, and has recorded a new career high in points in each of the last 3 outings. He is shooting 8 of 14 from the field, has been aggressive on defense, and through the early part of this season, Aaliyah has been the most impressive storyline and one of the more consistent attributes for Drake. The storyline, the way he has stuck with this team, it has been so awesome to see what Aaliyah has done. And I got to know Andrew a little bit, with our time in Albany and Wichita, and he just seems like a good guy too. So it's easy to cheer for someone like Andrew Aaliyah, and you're starting to see that confidence come out of him that Drake fans didn't really know what kind of player they had because of him redshirting and because of the injuries. He's starting to show Drake what they've been missing the last few years. So 6:30 tip-off. We will be there, of course, so tune in to Media Row Pod on Twitter to catch any of the Coach Henderson post-game interviews and just updates throughout the game. All right, let's move on to the college football segment of today's show, starting with the biggest game in the state. Yes, bigger than Iowa, Michigan State, bigger than Iowa State, Kansas, even though I know if Iowa State beats the Jayhawks, they become bowl eligible. Doesn't matter, because at noon at Drake Stadium, the Bulldogs kick it off against the Morehead State Eagles, and if they win that game, they earn a trip to the FCS playoffs and make school history by winning their 3rd straight outright PFL title, which has never been done before in Drake football history. So starting with the basics here, Drake is 7-3, 6-1 in the PFL, full control, but you have Presbyterian and San Diego right behind them. But on the other side, you have Morehead State, 6-5, 4-3 in the PFL. They've won 4 straight. They're playing their best football as of right now. And while they may not have a trip to the FCS playoffs on the line or winning a PFL title on the line, they're more than happy to play spoiler. They almost pulled off the spoiler card a year ago where they beat Drake. So much is on the line for the Drake Bulldogs, and it should be a really fun game, and can't wait to cover it. But let's just start by scouting the Eagles. As we mentioned, they've won 4 straight, but in these 4 straight, they haven't been dominant wins, even against bad teams in the conference, even against Valpo and Davidson, teams that basically everyone in the PFL has had a good opportunity to blow out in their matchups. Morehead State didn't. Morehead State in their last 4 have only won by 4 or less points. So they're not blowing teams out, but they still are looking good. And one of the big things that they've done all season long is cause turnovers. This defense is 4th in fumbles caused in the conference. Now, offensively, they struggle with turnovers. They have 5 turnovers in the last 4 games. A big reason for that is their weakness at the offensive line. They've allowed 20 sacks this season. Also, defensively, they're not strong against the rush. They're second to last in rush D. But offensively, they can still compete with just about anyone. The main reason they've been able to put together these 4 consecutive wins is because of these 2 offensive weapons. First, you have Isaac Stopke, who is a junior or sophomore running back who can really play a dynamic role of both wide receiver and power back. But the main weapon that Morehead State has that no other team has is the number 1 wide receiver in the conference. Ryan Up, a senior who has 5 touchdowns, 999 yards receiving this season, but in those last 4 games has just been on an absolute tear. 510 yards and 2 touchdowns in the last 4 games for Ryan Up. So this secondary, where I have full confidence in Drake's secondary's abilities, but they're kind of the question mark to this defense because of their youth, because of when you have a defense as strong as Drake's is, there's always going to be one part that you have more concern on. I love the front line for Drake's defense. They've been really strong all season long. The linebacking core is the best in the PFL. So if there has to be one spot on that defense that I have the most concern about, even though they have made great improvements throughout the season, is that secondary, and they're going to have their hands full with Ryan Up. So where can Drake take advantage? And I think first and foremost, you have to attack that bad rushing defense of Morehead State. Last week on the road against Dayton in a hostile environment against a top 3 PFL defense, Drake attacked the run game and had great success with it. And the offensive line was a huge part of that, and we'll get to them in a little bit. But when you have a mobile, dual-threat quarterback like Inagawa, who is as strong and comfortable in the pocket as anyone in the PFL, and as strong as comfortable utilizing his legs as well in the PFL. And then you have a true freshman running back in Nick Herman, whose speed is second to none in the PFL. When he gets out into open space, he is on a mission to find the back of the end zone. Back-to-back games where he has put together 60-plus yard touchdowns, or 2 of the last 3 games, he has put together 60-plus yard rushing touchdowns. And then you have the captain, Luke Woodson. Just that veteran presence adds so much to Drake, and what he's able to do in the backfield is crucial for the Drake Bulldogs, especially when we get to this time of the year, when he has been on those PFL winning teams, when he has played in the FCS playoffs with a team that is so young in those vital positions of quarterback, running back, receiver. When you can get Luke Woodson and also Sean Allison, those two captains, those two veterans in those prime spots, the benefits are unmatched. So you get the rushing game going, and Drake can make some noise on Saturday. Secondly, the offensive line for Morehead State has struggled. So if you can get pressure on the opposing quarterback, they're not good on third down. My biggest concern for these last two games has been get Drake's offense quick off the field, because St. Thomas beat Drake because they were able to convert those third and longs. That was something rare. That is something we haven't seen all season long that Drake has allowed. And so now it's in the back of their heads that if they can get off the field, usually means they're going to win the game. So it starts with the defensive line getting pressure on the opposing quarterback. It's a struggling offensive line the Eagles have, and just get them off the field on third down. So you're at home, noon kickoff, title on the line, everything on the line, playoff berth on the line. You have a little bit of that revenge chip on your shoulder as MSU beat the Drake Bulldogs last season. But Drake has handled this team. They're 9-3 all-time versus Morehead State. They're 2-1 in Des Moines against Morehead State. I like Drake's abilities, and I think the parts that Drake shines at are the parts where Morehead State has really struggled, and I think it's just a really bad matchup for the Eagles. But Drake's going to take them seriously. They've won 4 straight. They know they have no problem playing spoiler, and Woodley is going to be preaching everything to take this team seriously and not to overlook this team, because he's been in these moments. I mean, just about every single year he's ever put on the headset, he has made the playoffs. He has been in these championship caliber moments. So I'm excited to see how this team performs, how they come out to play. They came out a little slow against Dayton, but that second quarter was huge. And then just being able to force turnovers. I'm excited to see the crowd Drake Stadium gets, because, again, if you're not going to Ames, if you're not going to Iowa City, Drake Stadium, I truly believe, is the place to be this weekend. I think we're going to break down the Iowa and Iowa State games and what I think about those matchups. This is the best matchup in the state. You could see history Saturday. So get out there noon. If you're not able to get out there, make sure to follow along at Media Row Pod for game updates and, of course, our post-game interview with Joe Woodley. So should be a lot of fun at Drake Stadium. But moving forward, we have our other college football games, our 4 games that we always pick. And we're going to start off in Ames as Iowa State faces Kansas. Cyclones a 4.5-point favorite. Man, these games are always close. They are always close. Kansas has won 3 of the last 4, all by 1 possession or less. And you have a Jayhawks team that has really struggled, where they're 1-3, losing by an average of 18 points in their last 4 games. And then you have a rested Iowa State team, which is coming off of a huge win against TCU on the road. I don't think there was a team in this country that needed a bye more than the Cyclones, where you can just get them refreshed and refocused, because this has been a disappointing year for Iowa State. This has not been where they thought they would be. And get this team refocused on silence the noise from people like me who talk about the disappointment of this season. Get that out of your head. It already happened. It's done. Now just go out there and finish these games. And Kansas has struggled. I think Iowa State getting that bye, having the win before the bye is huge. And I'm expecting Iowa State to kind of come back, like I've said, rejuvenated against Kansas. So give me the Cyclones at home against the Jayhawks. Keeping it in the state, we have the Iowa Hawkeyes at home against Michigan State, a 16.5-point favorite. Iowa, of course, looking to bounce back after that really disappointing loss to USC on the road, where you had the fans' hopes still gripping onto a thread of, man, win this, you have an opportunity to somehow make the college football playoffs if things go your way. That's out of the picture now. That's out of the picture now with blowing a 14-0 lead, just coming out so conservative in that second half and allowing USC to really control everything in that second half. Falling apart like they did, I do expect Phil Parker and Kirk Ferentz to have this team ready to bounce back. And I don't think there's a better team you could have picked for Iowa to bounce back against at home, where I think if you would have asked Hawkeye fans, here, handpick a team, anyone in your conference, to, after a disappointing loss, to face the following week at home, who are you picking? I know Purdue is last in the Big Ten. Iowa always seems to struggle against Purdue. Purdue always plays them well. I think a lot of Hawkeye fans would be like, we won't take the one-win team. We'll take Michigan State. And it's because Michigan State's been brutal. They haven't won since September 13th. They're 0-7 in the Big Ten. Look this one up. It's their longest losing streak, which is 10 games. They did that in 1916-17. It's been that long since we've seen this type of losing streak by Michigan State. So they're a mess right now. It's like that scene in Slapshot, where everybody's in the locker room and they're like, yeah, Dave's a killer. Dave's a killer. And you have the guy sitting there going, Dave's a mess. That's Michigan State right now. So give me the Hawkeyes winning easily over Michigan State, because I think Phil Parker's defense plays better for the full 60 minutes than they did against USC. And, I usually don't expect Iowa to blow out anybody. I'm usually making those jokes of, it's going to be close because Iowa doesn't put up points. This offense has proven throughout the season they can put up some points with Gronkowski, with the run game. So I actually don't mind that 16.5 as much as I really thought I would when I first looked at it. So I got the Cyclones, got the Hawkeyes, and now our two national games to wrap up our football segment. USC, the 15th ranked Trojans, on the road at number 7, Oregon. Oregon, a 9.5 point favorite. Man, must watch TV. Must watch TV. Because you have 15 USC who, you win this one, you are right into the college football playoff discussion. Absolutely. And Oregon, if you lose this one, now you're hanging on. You're hanging on for dear life to be one of those teams in the college football playoffs, because you're not going to play in the Big Ten championship. Neither of these teams are. So you need to be in the top 10. Need to be in the top 10, because top 12 isn't going to seal it. You have ACC and the group of 5 team that is going to get an automatic bid. So everything is on the line for these two teams. And if you love offense, again, must watch TV. These are the last two opponents Iowa faced. And what did we say when previewing Iowa and Oregon 2 weeks ago? We said, man, this is going to be the most athletic offense Iowa has faced all year. Then they go on the road and they play USC. What do we say about the Trojans offense? Man, this is the most dynamic, most balanced offensive attack Iowa will see all year. So it is going to be an offensive showdown between these two teams. But I like USC's offense. I love Oregon's. And the biggest concern between both of these two teams, there's not many concerns I have for Oregon. The defensive concerns I have for USC are outstanding. I think if they come out slow and sluggish like they did against Iowa a week ago, I mean, again, I know I just praised the Iowa offense for being able to put up points and have impressed me more than I thought they would at the start of the year. it's still the Iowa offense. And for most of that, for the whole first half, USC got bullied. If they come out sluggish, Oregon wins this game by 2 scores. Easily by 2 scores. So I have too many concerns with the secondary of USC's, with that front line of USC's, where my love for this Oregon offense trumps it. And I just don't see Oregon struggling, because I think Dan Lanning is going to have this team ready to go and fired up at home with so much on the line for both of these teams. So give me the Oregon Ducks, and I like the 9.5. Now to finish up, we have the 2 top defenses going at it in the SEC. We just had some of the best offensive teams in college football. We previewed that head-to-head. Now let's jump over to the defensive side of things, as 22 Missouri heads to number 8 Oklahoma. Oklahoma, a 7.5-point favorite. Over-under is 41.5. Might want to think about the under with these 2 defensive teams. But starting with the home team in Oklahoma, really impressed me against Bama. I mean, I've always been a fan of Venables and his defensive schemes, and Oregon. Oklahoma, their defense have been great under him, but they were incredible at Alabama, forcing 3 turnovers, just made this Bama team look upset. They were yelling at each other. You have the kicker yelling at the long snapper. They were in their heads and totally changed the morale of Bama in that game. Then you have Missouri, who still a top 25 team, but man, they need this win to just help that resume, because yeah, they're a top 25 team. Their knock is they haven't been able to do anything against ranked teams. 0-3 against ranked opponents. I like Oklahoma to win this one because of their defense. I trust their defense more than Missouri's, and because they've proven to win these meaningful games. Missouri hasn't proved to win these meaningful games, the ones that matter. We just saw last week what Oklahoma can do in hostile environments, and this one's at home, so it should be even easier. And I would just love to see the Oklahoma Sooners run the ball a little more effectively outside of Matier, but they average 130 yards a game on the ground. They only got 74 against Bama, still won that game, but you get Xavier Robinson heating up, and it just helps this offense look so strong, and it takes some of that pressure off of Matier. So give me Oklahoma taking down Missouri in what could just be a smash mouth, old-time SEC battle. Now, to finish up today's show, we are going to welcome Maury Hanks, the man who is responsible for setting up the Emerald Coast Classic that Drake will be playing in next week on Thanksgiving week, Black Friday, 8:30 tip against LSU, as well as in the Casey Center, December 20th, the Iowa Hawkeyes taking on Bucknell. Here joining us now on the show, Maury Hanks. Well, first and foremost, Maury, thank you so much for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. This is a really special time of the year. I love this time where, man, you turn on every college football game, it's meaningful, and then those Thanksgiving tournaments just hold a special place in my heart as a diehard basketball fan.
Yeah, it's a great start to the season, and basketball, it'll be conference play before you know it, but there's some great games already going on, and like you said, the Thanksgiving 10 days around now to December 1st is chock full of great basketball games.
So what does your schedule look like now between now and when Drake tips off in the Emerald Classic next week? Just is all the prep basically done? Is this the kind of relaxed period, or is there still a lot of work to be done?
No, I wish. I leave on Wednesday to go to Destin. And I'll meet some of my staff down there. Mike Mahon, who the people in Des Moines know very well. He'll come down on Thursday, and we'll get, and I got a great staff at Northwest Florida State College. Ramsey Ross, the athletic director, and guy named Mike Miller has been helping me for years. And so we'll get together, and we've done it a number of times. So we know we've got to get the media room ready for Mike, and we've got to get the floor ready, and we've got to get the chairs set up, and we've got to get the hospitality room stocked. And so we have a checklist, and we just go through it. Got to get the locker rooms ready. Then we use another gym at a local high school for shoot around. So we've got to get a guy to go over there and double check that, which he's going to do, I think, today or tomorrow. And the women's tournament is Monday, Tuesday of next week. So a week from today, we started a women's Emerald Coast Classic. They'll be the second year. Creighton was in it last year. And then we'll have Wednesday off. The men's teams will practice on Thursday on Thanksgiving, play Friday and Saturday, and 11 days will go by real fast, but there'll be a lot to do in those 11 days.
Yeah, and then are you already planning for next year's Thanksgiving tournament, or when does that transition start?
Yeah, I try. Yeah, you got to plan ahead. I've already got Mississippi State under contract, talking to some schools now. I may have said your show before. Iowa's played in the event twice. Iowa State's played in the event in the past, and it's a great place. If the people who listen to you are thinking about going to the games down there, it's very inexpensive to stay down there. It's like going to the Caribbean without needing a passport. It's usually in the low 70s, and it's a really easy place to travel to, and it's a great place to see.
How do you pick the teams? Where does that start?
I just try to get the best teams possible. I mean, we've had very good teams there. One year, 2019. Illinois, Purdue, Tennessee were all top 10 teams, all Sweet 16 teams, and VCU brought a lot of teams. In 2020, I thought I had what was going to be the best tournament in the country. COVID canceled it, but I had Iowa State was supposed to come, Illinois was supposed to come, Oregon was supposed to come, and Florida was supposed to come. Yeah, it would have been the best tournament in college basketball, 4-team tournament, and then unfortunately COVID hit. But we've had really good teams, and I just try to. Scheduling's really changed, as I talked about last time on your program, and just trying to get the right balance of good teams that the bigger teams want to play with some teams that'll bring some fans, because it is a business for me, and my sponsors, my partners at CBS Sports Network. So it's a lot of work. It's never ending.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but through your time of being in this business, it feels like, man, 15 years ago, pitching to someone, hey, let's do these Thanksgiving college basketball tournaments. They'd be like, are you kind of crazy because you have NFL football? It's a holiday. No one wants to watch college basketball. And now as I'm growing up, I grew up loving these Thanksgiving tournaments, and there's something special about them. When did you see that flip, or Maui, or am I wrong?
Yeah, the one in Maui is and it's lost some of its luster now. Getting teams, it's still a fantastic place to go, but it is very expensive for the teams. With revenue sharing now, I think teams are going to look at how to save money. If you've got to fly, let's say Iowa State from Des Moines all the way there and come back, and Hawaii is an expensive place, just to use that as an example. But so they were the first one, and then other people started following suit. ESPN got involved in the business, and so they do one in Charleston, they do one in Orlando, they had one in Myrtle Beach they did away with. And so it's also a good time because kids aren't in school, so if you need to leave the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, they're not missing a lot of school. You can be gone and not miss enough school, because they do miss a lot of school during the season.
And then do you think it's good that there is such a, there's tournaments in Vegas, there's tournaments in New York, there's tournaments everywhere. There's not just, the lone Maui tournament on Thanksgiving. You think that's just good for the sport in general to have such a widespread of tournaments?
Yeah, because I think it gives a lot of eyes on college basketball early in the season. A lot of people say that they should start the college basketball season. I've heard many times January 1st, and not compete with the NFL, not compete with football. But if you do that, then you're going to have to go into like May.
Yeah.
Some people will finish school, and my philosophy is it's still broke. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Like when I coached, I got out of coaching in 1991. The season did not start until the Friday after Thanksgiving. Now it starts 3 full weeks ahead. And we played, I think, 28 or 29 games. Now they play 31. They're going to 32. But again, the season, like right now, is when you played exhibition games. Global Sports used to have an exhibition team. We played Iowa State every year. We go all over the country and play. You played those games like November 1st to November 14th, and then the season would start. Well, now they're tipping off November 3rd. So but it's good for college basketball to have these premier matchups early in the season, because it reminds people, hey, college basketball is going on.
And then with the tournament you're doing this year, Drake's involved with it. There's LSU, Georgia Tech, DePaul are the teams in it. Just what are you seeing from, ticket sales now that the season has started and fans are starting to get a look at these teams? Are you noticing, maybe some more juice?
And so people are getting more excited. We've seen an uptick. The best thing about the arena there, it's only 2,400 seats. It's all chairbacks. There's only 11 rows from the floor to the top row. It's a very intimate place for college basketball. So if you haven't been able to see Drake, if you go to Drake and you don't have great tickets because you don't make a donation to their booster club, or you're new to town and you don't have the long-term relationship with them, you can come down there and for $20 you can sit 5 rows from the floor in the corner, beautiful seat, and you can watch 2 college basketball games each day. And so we pride ourselves on having inexpensive tickets, very affordable tickets. It's a great arena. Free parking, very easy to get in and out of. And like I said, if your fans are looking to go someplace nice for Thanksgiving, it's very easy to travel there.
Are you noticing, is there a certain team gathering a little better to start out for this tournament? Like Drake plays LSU. Should Drake fans, who aren't able to make the trip be, taking note of, watching on TV, you may see a lot of purple, or vice versa?
LSU was in it 4 years ago when Will Wade was the coach.
Yep.
And they had a great following there on Friday. Now, Saturday they play college football, so there wasn't as many fans, but they had a huge following. I'm expecting a lot of Drake fans to be there. I'm not sure about DePaul. I know DePaul's got a good contingency that I've heard of. And there's a lot of Georgia Tech alumni in that area, the Panhandle, which kind of goes from Panama City to Pensacola in that area. So we're looking for a pretty good crowd this year, and very excited about it.
It is cool. I've been a lifelong Drake Bulldog fan. And, when I was younger, there were some fans that would travel to these tournaments, but you'd watch it on TV and it just, there wasn't as much blue in the stands. Now, after the special seasons DeVries had and what McCollum has been able to build, what just Brian Harden in this department has built, it's really cool to see Drake start to travel. And so I'm excited if anyone hasn't seen it at this tournament, to get a good look at these Drake Bulldog fans.
Yes, I'm excited to see them come down. Brian's done a great job at Drake since he's been there, and they're one of the better basketball jobs in the country, and he's made it that. And so they got good facilities, great fans, and that goes a long way to attracting good coaches.
And then to the same point of just gaining, now since the season has tipped off, just gaining more juice, you're also a part of the Iowa Bucknell game that will be played here in Des Moines at the Casey Center. And just, are you seeing now, everyone was excited, a lot of Hawkeye fans were excited of McCollum and Sturtz coming over, but man, it seems like everyone's already starting to think this team is surpassing expectations with just how well they've been playing, and everyone's really excited to see this Hawkeye team.
Yeah, they had a big win against Xavier the other night, and I'm looking forward to have them come to be involved in this game. And that's December 20th at Casey Center, 5 o'clock. I think we talked about last time in your program. It's a good starting time because the game will get done by 7:15. I mean, if they're coming from Iowa City, they can still get home before it gets too late. And, that's one reason we did it at that time. So the game will get over 7:15, 7:30 at the latest. You're not going to get home at midnight. You can drive home and get home in a decent hour. So we just released last week more tickets between the baskets, some tickets on the floor. So we've seen an uptick on sales there. And like I said, since the basketball season for Iowa's kicked off, ticket sales are heading in the right direction. And you've got about another month to get your tickets. Again, highvticks.com at the Casey Center.
And then what's just the biggest difference when you're preparing for a Thanksgiving Day or Thanksgiving week tournament like you are with the Emerald Classic, and then doing the Casey Center Iowa Bucknell standalone game?
That's a good question. The tournaments have 4 or 8 teams. Like my women's tournament has 8 teams, so I have to take care of eight set of teams. There may be one team wants this, one team wants that. Could be 8 different set of problems. And for the men's tournament, there's 4 teams. Iowa Bucknell, there's just 2 teams. It's one arena. Chris Conley at the Casey Center is great to work with his staff, and real fortunate to be working with them again. And but it's just 2 teams, so you just got to make sure you know what Iowa wants, what Bucknell wants. We got the time set, and again that'll be here before you know it.
And then you've been in this business for a long time, and just throughout your time watching college basketball, we're already seeing on social media, fans overreact, good and bad, to their teams with only 2 weeks that the season has started. What's your advice to fans just throughout your time of watching basketball to not overreact? Because we're starting to see that a little bit with a few Drake fans.
You're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are. And it's a long season. I mean, what's Drake played? 4 games?
Yep.
So they've got 27 still scheduled, 1 game guaranteed in the conference tournament. So you're guaranteed 28 games. Just let the games play out, and usually it'll end up like most people think they were.
And then it was fun. Mike Mahon and I drove up to Iowa City together last week to watch the Iowa Drake women's game. And the whole time I'm just asking him some of his favorite stories throughout his time of, being in this business, meeting different coaches. So I want to ask you just any great, coaching stories or coaches you've met. Mike Mahon told a lot about Bill Self, and
yeah, you don't have enough time. I started coaching in I was in college, and my first job was 1984, 85 at UC Santa Barbara. Ben Howland, the former UCLA coach, I was lucky enough to be on the staff with him there. I coached at Clemson 85 to 87. Recruited Eldon Campbell from LA. Was lucky enough to coach Horace Grant.
Horace Grant.
Yeah, I've been out of coaching since 91, but like I said, I've done this a long, long time. So you don't have enough time for me to tell stories. So, no, basketball's like Mike's been, there's not many SIDs that have been around as long as Mike. Media people know as many people and are as good as Mike is. Mike's very, very good, and I'm lucky to have him.
Okay, I will ask for one story because Mike, he didn't have a story for this particular coach, but since you mentioned you were with Clemson and around the same time, I love Jim Valvano. I think everybody does. Do you have a good Jim Valvano story for us?
No, I met Coach Valvano the 2 years I coached there. He could, how do I say this? He could really work the room. His players loved him. And that's half of coaching. If your players buy into what you're selling, and they played in Old Reynolds Coliseum there, and they had my second year at Clemson. We were 1986-87. We were 25-4. Duke beat us twice by 4 points, and North Carolina beat us. We had North Carolina down at halftime. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And NC State had a guy named Charles Shackelford, the original Shaq, 6'10", 6'11" long, skinny center, played overseas, and Kenny Drummond, a junior college guard. I can remember that. But Coach Valvano, he was an interesting character, but his players loved playing for him.
Well, thank you again so much for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. Anything before,
No, just like I said, if the Drake fans, still thinking about doing something for Thanksgiving, really easy to travel down to Fort Walton Beach. Legion Airlines flies there nonstop out of Des Moines now. Lots of good hotel availability. Go on our website, emeraldcoastclassic.com. You can click on travel link. They'll show you a number of hotels. You can make them right there. You can buy your tickets on emeraldcoastclassic.com, and also the Iowa Bucknell game, December 20th. There at the Casey Center, highvticks.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. One of these days, maybe over the summer, we may just do an hour-long show, and I'll just ask you a bunch of questions about
That
your
would be fine.
coaching.
Yep, that'd
be
be
fun.
Thank you for having me on.
Huge thank you to Maury Hanks for coming on the show. Make sure you guys stay tuned. The next coming weeks, we have some big news coming from Maury and Media Row, and it could involve some tickets, could involve something really cool. Wink, wink. So you don't want to miss that. Make sure you're staying tuned on all the social media pages and following along wherever you're listening or viewing this podcast. But that will do it for today's show and this week's slate of shows. A huge thank you, as always, to Coach Woodley for coming on. A huge thank you to Maury Hanks coming on today. And a huge thank you to you guys for tuning in each and every week. Wouldn't be possible without your support, without Kelly's little nipper support. So it means the world. Continue to stay locked in on everything Drake and everything in Iowa sports, national sports, and much more at the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller. We will see you guys on Monday as we recap a fun weekend of sports.